Good agricultural practices and good manufacturing practices. Here's an implementation method to achieve lasting results without breaking the bank. I bet you know the story. You're responsible for implementing good quality practices throughout the organization. You work hard for several months. You assess current operations, identify gaps, develop corrective implementation plans, review the plans with management, and check off actions as improvements get implemented, and soon the punch list is complete. Sure, there's always new challenges, but now you can sleep at night knowing good practices are in place. Or are they? Let's check back in the future to see what we find. The operation documented its essential procedures, conducted training, and set up record-keeping practices along with other elements required to maintain the best practices over time. But a year and a half later, you might think nothing has changed. Management talked the talk and even walked the walk for a while, but returned to their old management style of firefighting and blaming people for issues that arose. No one has been held accountable for maintaining procedure documents, and workers believe they know how to do their job and don't refer to the procedures. Process variation and product issues have returned. Inconsistent record keeping over the past year makes investigating the root cause of problems difficult. Management required new employees to attend training sessions, but co-workers would share process shortcuts, downplay the record keeping requirements, and discredit the GMP quality program they went through a year ago. Several employees and some management think GMP practices are a waste of time, especially when priorities focus on production due dates and solving daily issues. Whether you are an external consultant or an internal quality manager, your job is getting others to do the right things. You probably relate to stories like this and understand how things can go wrong. I use the term consultant to refer to these internal and external roles. As a GXP consultant, I assume you have a basic or in-depth knowledge of the GXP concepts. But for anyone without this background, I'll provide a 90-second overview. The G and the P in the acronym GXP stands for good practices. The X is written in lowercase to represent an industry sector, such as GACP for good agricultural and collection practices, GMP for good manufacturing practices, and good laboratory practices, GLP. Some differences exist between agriculture, manufacturing, and test lab operations, but the basic concepts across good practice frameworks are similar. From a 30,000-foot level, good practices include 12 elements. Management commitment and leadership using quality principles. Documentation of policies and procedures. 3. Staff qualification and training. 4. Having proper facilities, equipment, and maintenance practices. 5. Validation of critical processes. Identification and management or elimination of potential risk. Good record keeping, addressing complaints and corrective action. Managing and implementing change. Self-assessment to identify gaps and prevent issues. Customer focus and supplier management. And continuous quality improvement. You can gather half a dozen GMP experts in a room, and there will be debate about what GMP is and what supports GMP. I'm going to go into more detail on each of these good practice elements in another video. Today I will share how to establish a good practice framework for lasting results at a reasonable price point. Getting lasting results is crucial in holding down cost. Your facilities and equipment costs are somewhat fixed. You have far more control over your labor cost. Implementing a good practice framework involves labor. You can control labor costs by ensuring staff understands why good practice principles are beneficial. They need to know what to do, how to do it, and how to adapt to ongoing process change to consistently produce quality products that customers can rely on. Everyone must participate in reducing or eliminating process variation, mistakes, rework, confusion, searching for procedures or records, material waste, rejected products, staff turnover, needless training, customer complaints, supplier issues, and firefighting issues that waste valuable staff time and labor cost. An internal quality manager or external consultant cannot accomplish this alone. Every employee must be part of the success. So here's how you can do this. Create experiences where workers engage with the knowledge and activities of the good practice concepts. Have them examine the cannabis operations they are involved with and learn to recognize and address issues. By doing this, employees become part of the solution and together emerge into a high-performing team that enjoys the production work they perform. Good management practices are essential for success. Top management must establish the vision and embrace and reward a process mindset rather than focusing on issues and blaming personnel. Management from the top down must be an example of quality and good practices. I have another video that goes into more detail on the critical role of top management. You must create learning experiences that are far more engaging than classroom training or reading books and online content. Like learning to swim or ski, you must jump into the water. What does jumping into the water mean for GXP engagement? It means having workers experience how GXP concepts fit into their daily work. Engaging workers to identify gaps in the workplace and daily activities and getting them involved with solutions that result in good and even best practices. When the rank and file staff assesses the operation against good practice criteria, and there is support to correct the issues found, individuals gain ownership of the problems they see and the resulting corrections. But more than a simple checklist is required for an assessment used for training. For an assessment program to be an engaging training tool, it must include information or links to information that educates, helps the worker recognize issues, and explain why each GXP criteria is essential for the operation when it is not apparent. It needs features to record findings, attach photos or files that provide evidence of a problem, and the ability to capture corrective action recommendations or documentation of actions taken to resolve the gaps identified. You can start by engaging a few key personnel to become ambassadors who will positively support and motivate others. As the training expands, the assessment program should be customized or logic rules applied so that workers only need to address matters that apply to their current or future job roles. As the consultant, whether external or internal, compliance or a quality manager, you can use topic-based assessment to focus on specific areas of concern, such as sanitation, pest and contamination control, chemical storage, record keeping, environmental control and monitoring, harvesting, sampling, testing, security, packaging and labeling, recall procedures, and several other topics. These topics can be introduced in stages. They can be spread out over a few months. Management needs to engage with topics such as process thinking and management practices, staff motivation and reward practices, strategic planning and goal setting, production monitoring, issue management, and continuous improvement engagement. Assessments based on training tools work for this as well. Gamification in the form of a score for each criteria is fantastic for creating team member dialogue. One staffer may assess the operation, which results in a score of 82. Another staff member's findings may have a score of 98. What? 98? How'd you get a 98? Well, I thought everything looked pretty good. What did you find wrong to get an 82? Then they start talking about the differences and ask others what they found, involving everyone to some degree in the good practice assessment, and the improvement process creates a sense of responsibility, creativity, accomplishment, and ownership. They come together and form a high-performing team. The consultant's job does not go away. It gets quite easier and becomes more valuable because it positively impacts the company's bottom line. You, the consultant, become the subject matter expert who can guide and coach the site key users who help others understand and adopt the best practices. You are not finding and fixing the problems for them. You are teaching them how to find and fix problems for themselves. You are building maintainable best practice methods into the workplace culture. This often spills over into an individual's personal life, improving family and community. As the consultant, recognition of your value will spread, resulting in more clients. You can support more clients by spending less time with each client, making your time more valuable. As an external consultant, you can engage a cannabis company's quality manager to get started. As an internal quality manager, you can engage managers at each facility. From there, the program can expand. There's one more question to answer that will help you sell this to your clients and your company. Why implement GMP? The cannabis industry is not new. A few years ago, a top official of a California city said, "Every jurisdiction in the United States has a thriving cannabis industry." Then he asked, "Do you want a regulated cannabis industry or an unregulated cannabis industry in your community?" The unregulated industry presents more risk. The regulated cannabis industry is relatively new. Most states that legalize medical or adult use cannabis did so by public ballot. Governments had to establish departments to oversee the new cannabis programs, develop licensing policies, and draft regulations quickly. The initial states that legalized cannabis focused on licensing, acceptable locations, production limits, security, video monitoring, advertising restrictions, diversion into unregulated markets, and access by minors and taxation. Few consumable product safety regulations were established or enforced. Initially, one state did not require product testing for microbes, pesticides, heavy metals, or cannabinoid content. During the last few years, a transition towards product safety issues has occurred, including more conversation about safe agricultural and consumable product manufacturing practices. The Federal Food and Drug Administration regulations, known as 21 CFR 117, Current Good Manufacturing Practice, Hazard Analysis and Risk-Based Preventative Controls for Human Food, and other good production practice frameworks are getting attention from state cannabis regulators, health departments, and enforcement divisions. When cannabis becomes legal at the federal level by either rescheduling or descheduling cannabis as a Schedule I drug, I anticipate the states will continue to have a significant role in regulation, licensing, and enforcement. The difference will be that FDA will adopt and apply good practices and good practice-style regulations to the cannabis industry. Even today, regardless of Schedule I, if there is an adverse health effect or a recall, it will require a root cause study, corrective action. They can levy fines and even shut down an operation. This is costly to the company's bottom line and reputation and generally makes life more stressful. It's easy to say that won't happen to me, but even some well-run, large companies have discovered otherwise. Since I personally know some of them, I won't share specifics. But I will share a new posting that just landed in my email. On June 14th, 2023, several Arizona marijuana establishments are voluntarily recalling specific products due to possible contamination with aspergillus, a fungus that can cause allergic reactions or infection, and salmonella, a bacterium where in the event of infection can cause diarrhea, fever, and stomach cramps. The Arizona Department of Health Services, ADHS, reported, to date, no illnesses have been reported. That's good news. To summarize, I presented a 30,000-foot level of good practice framework. I shared how to engage and motivate team members to instill good practices throughout an organization for lasting results. I stressed the importance of top management's role to drive good practices and lead by example. I explained why various forms of good practices that have guided the food and pharmaceutical industries for many years are gaining attention in the cannabis industry. A final word on cost. When implemented throughout an organization where every employee plays a part, is educated, feels responsible, and gains a sense of ownership for good practices, costs do not increase. They decrease. Good practices create operations that run smoothly and reliably, saving the high cost of wasted labor. Fewer issues reduce daily frustration and stress, leading to staff turnover, which impacts production and requires new hire training, resulting in more cost. And process controls result in fewer problems, meaning less waste. As Benjamin Franklin said, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I hope you found this information helpful and inspiring. If you'd like to implement a program like this, our GapCross platform enables you to use or create engaging assessment-based training programs for your clients using simple authoring tools. We have pre-made programs for state regulation compliance, a Canada GMP program based on 21 CFR 217, and a quality management assessment program. We can help you create custom programs or build them for you. For more information, contact us at info@gapcross.com. Thank you for watching this video on GXP and how to implement it without breaking the bank. Be sure to like, share, and add comments or questions, and subscribe for more informative content.